There's always a cause. We have to open our eyes. We have to look around us. Don't get overwhelmed, but be strategic and do something about it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We're trying to help by providing the information, the statistics, and the discussion about the solutions. Do all the subscribe and like and share.
Okay, so welcome to the first official All In Nutritionals podcast. We've talked about doing this for a while, right?
And we're in our new space.
We are in our new space, yes.
So.
This is our new podcast room. I'm liking it. I think it's pretty cozy and cool down here.
Love it.
Yeah. So we're going to talk. We're going to start trying to do this pretty regularly. And we thought that it would be cool just to kind of have some open dialogue conversation between you and I, because there's always a lot of things to talk about as it relates to your health, right?
Right, especially today's topic.
Yeah. And what is today's topic?
Chemicals and toxins.
All things detox, right?
All things detox, why we need to detox, who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we will get started with that. Why did we pick, of all things, like, detox? Why is that like our number one topic to start with today?
Because the chemicals are doing the most damage to human beings. Mm-hmm. You believe thoughts and I believe chemicals, and somewhere in the middle is probably the truth. But, and I think if you think, well, your thoughts can be toxic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a chemical, that's a toxin. Those are bad chemicals. Those are unhealthy chemicals.
Yeah.
But the physical chemicals that we produce in society coming out of this industrial revolution is just devastating people. And it has been for decades. And I was saying this 35 years ago and being laughed at in seminars. Yeah. And now every single thing that I was saying has come true. It's been proven, scientifically proven. And now everybody knows it and everybody's talking about it. But I was talking about it 35 years ago when it was not a vogue. It was not in. It was not popular.
Right. And I think it's fair to say that most people, even me, and I live with you, and you're always researching and looking into this stuff. Most people are not aware of how many chemicals we come in contact with on a daily basis. And it's like, I'm always kind of, I really don't want to, oops, there's the microphone. I really don't want to create like a fear mindset.
No.
But I think the point of talking about this is not to make you think, oh my gosh, I can't leave my house, or I can't buy anything at the store, or I can't eat anything. It's to raise awareness, because if you really understand the amount of chemicals you come in contact with on a daily basis, then you can start to get smart and strategic with how to counter it. Yeah. And that's, I think, what we're kind of trying to point out today.
And if you create more fear and go, I'm going to get cancer, the chemicals, I can't do anything about it, and you create fear, you're just creating another unhealthy situation. Yeah. And there's no benefit there.
Right.
So I don't walk around freaking out all day long, and I probably have as much or more knowledge than 99.99999% of the world's population when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, I would agree.
So let me share two statistics with you and with our audience. Okay. Just start off with two statistics that are going to, I think, hopefully open people's eyes. Yeah. Okay. These are solid statistics. These come from very well respected organizations that do the research properly. Mm-hmm. There's more than 160 million chemicals that are known to humans. 160 million.
Yeah, that's a lot.
About 40 to 60,000 of them can be found in commerce. 6,000 of those, which are some of the most toxic, 6,000 of those account for more than 99% of the total volume of the chemicals that are in commerce today. In other words,
so I'm trying to track that in my brain, because
used to make
break that down a little bit.
Okay, so there's 6,000 serious chemicals that are used to make this desk, and to make this microphone, and to make this shirt, and to make the underarm deodorant that people are using, or to make the pots and pans that we're cooking in. These chemicals, and many of them are called forever chemicals, which means they last forever.
Right.
Or if not forever, then too darn long. Okay? Those chemicals are prevalent everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what this means.
Okay.
But just the volume, just the sheer volume of 160 million of them is just unthinkable.
Right.
One more statistic just to start off this. There's 1.5 billion kilograms. So there's 2.2 kilos to 1 pound. Okay? There's 1.5 billion kilograms of toxic chemicals are released into the environment in the United States of America in 2021. And this is part of just routine operations.
Day to day.
Yeah.
Right.
1.5 billion kilos. Now, if you took that and you put that on a football field or in a stadium and you looked at that from a volume standpoint, it would shock every single person. Like every single person's jaw would drop.
Yeah.
That's being released into just our country every 12 months.
Yeah. Right.
And there's people still saying, well, I don't need to detox. My body has its own detoxification processes. Oh, my liver's fine. My liver's born to detox. And I don't need, my blood's fine. I don't need to cleanse. I don't need to purify. I don't need to do this. Oh, the air's fine. Oh, the water's fine. All the inside the home and office is fine. It's not fine.
Right.
There's nothing fine about it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, I think something to think about there is like, okay, so your body does have a natural detox like system. Like I'm going to talk about our brain's detox system here in a few minutes. Your brain, or I'm sorry, your body is designed to detox itself. But here's the thing to remember. Our body is not designed to be exposed to the massive amounts of chemicals that it is on a daily basis. Like we're not supposed to live in a world that has so many chemicals.
Yeah. Imagine, here's the visual that I get. Imagine walking out of a room or a stadium and you're walking out of the Industrial Revolution, which is what we're coming out of.
Yeah.
And behind you is the last 100 years of chemicals. That's the visual because that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
That's the visual.
Yeah.
We
Well,
are
it's just
walking,
getting worse and worse.
We are walking out of a stadium. We
Yeah.
are walking out of a city. We are walking out of a state, out of a country that has just been the leader in the world in the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah.
which includes millions of chemicals and billions of pounds of chemicals or kilos, whatever you want, however you want to measure it. And that's what you're walking out of. And you're walking out of breathing it, drinking it, eating it, thinking it, sleeping it, soaking in it, bathing in it, and trying to flourish in it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
Bottom
I
line,
know.
it's not up for debate.
Yeah.
That is the facts.
Yeah.
So you're correct. Our body does have natural detoxification mechanisms, systems.
Yeah.
Our 7 channels of elimination.
Right.
Those 7 channels are designed to do what? Purify the human body through the lungs, the skin, the kidneys, the bowels, the lymphatic system, the liver, and the bloodstream. Chemicals touch those 7 organs. Those 7 organs push the chemicals out of our body.
Yeah.
But it can't do it in an unnatural way, walking out of the Industrial Revolution with billions of pounds of chemicals and millions of different chemicals. Now they're calling some of them forever chemicals.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing natural about that. It's not a natural byproduct of digestion or protein metabolism or fat metabolism. That's what you're talking about. And that's true.
Right. Right.
Our bodies do have the ability to detoxify natural metabolism of foods and water and air and free radicals and chemicals that we produce from exercising or working in the fields, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But not that stadium of billions of pounds of chemicals, millions of different chemicals made in a laboratory to make shirts and to make desks and to make microphones and to make antiperspirants and to make cookware and to make cars and to make leather seats and carpet and formaldehydes and glues and paints and every single thing else and lights and everything that we come into contact with. Our body is not designed to break that stuff down.
Right. No, I know. I just saw there's been like a buzz, and I won't mention the name of the product, but there's been a buzz on like TikTok and mainly TikTok that I've seen it on. But there's a certain very popular brand of athletic wear that I own a good amount of, and most people do.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to, they are finding extremely harmful chemicals in this athletic wear, in particular, like, in the, like the breast area for women,
To hold the bra tight?
Yeah. And then when you sweat and you're wearing this clothing, it makes it worse because then those toxins get absorbed into your body. And then if we say, okay, well, that's going on, where else is it going on that we don't know about in things that we're wearing or ingesting or whatever? And they say that these chemicals, the number one area they hit is the reproductive system.
Yeah.
Well, how many people in today's world are having trouble getting pregnant?
Yeah.
How many couples out there have fertility issues?
Yeah.
It's off the charts.
Yeah.
25 years ago, nobody was having trouble getting pregnant.
Right.
Not many people.
Right.
Now today, it's like a very common thing to say, well, I can't get pregnant. Well, that's not just happening for no reason.
Yeah.
That's just one example,
And you can take what your example, and you can bridge that to the brain and dementia and Alzheimer's. You can bridge that to fatigue. Mm-hmm. You can bridge that to inflammation.
Right.
You can bridge that
brain fog.
To chronic fatigue or brain fog. You can bridge that to adrenal fatigue.
Yep.
You can bridge that over to every single one of these epidemic type conditions that people are experiencing today.
Right.
And you can tie it right back to our lifestyle, our unnatural, unhealthy, unfortunate lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've done a pretty good job of highlighting there's an abundance of chemicals.
Yeah.
There's an abundance of toxins. So if that is the case, and it's the world we get in is not, or live in is not getting any better.
Yeah.
If anything, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
So what do? We don't want to just be victims to the environment we live in, So what do we do to counter this?
Well, first thing you do is you take a journal or a booklet like this, and you take a pen like this, and you write down, what does the human body need to sustain life? Okay, it needs air. All right, go a couple minutes without air, then you're dead. You pass out and you die.
Right.
It needs water. It needs food. It needs to be able to metabolize, to have a byproduct, to metabolize the food properly, for our engine to burn its fuel properly. It needs healthy thoughts. It needs healthy emotions. It needs a healthy environment. It needs a healthy office. It needs a healthy home. It needs healthy air quality. It needs healthy vacations. It needs a healthy job. These are all our life.
Yeah.
And if you draw your life out on a map or on a journal, and you journal it, you draw the picture of your life, then you just have to ask yourself the question, am I exposed to toxins? Is my relationship toxic? Is my water toxic? Is my air toxic? Are my thoughts toxic? Is my fear toxic? Is my sleep toxic? Are my bowel movements toxic? Is my diet toxic? What am I doing in this world? It's only about 14 or 15 things that make up who we are and what we do and how we think and how we process. Are those things clean? Are they pure? Are they natural? Or are they toxic?
Yeah.
And that's when you start to, if you ask yourself the real question, you're going to get the real answers. And if you really start to dig, you will know the answer to those questions. And then you will know you can learn what to do. That's what these podcasts are for.
Yeah.
To stimulate you, to wake you up, to slap you in the head and go, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I got to get to the bottom of this now.
Right.
Because nobody's going to do it for you.
Nobody. No, yeah, you got to do.
We've tried that one.
You've got to do the work. Yeah, I mean,
everybody's tried that one.
We got to do the work ourselves. And I think it's easy sometimes because I have struggled with this in the past. I mean, I've talked to you about this. Like you'll come to me with a research or whatever, and I honestly, I'm like, don't even tell me. Like, I don't want to know. Or I'll walk in the house and
she does. Sometimes she goes, you know what?
Yeah.
I save it.
Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need to know that because I walk in the house and you're watching these YouTube videos or you're listening to whatever. And it's just so like dark and devastating and negative. And I'm like, like, dude, I'm not going to do anything about that. I don't even want to know. Like, I can't do anything. It's too big.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to almost get like this sense of overwhelm. And then you just kind of want to go bury your head in the sand and say, hey, I'm better if I don't know, and I'm going to live my life, and I can't beat it, so whatever. But that's not the way to be. Yeah, because you're always like, well, Molly, you can't just go bury your head in the sand. Like, you have to understand these things. You have to process them, not to be overwhelmed or to be fearful or stressed.
But to counter them.
But to
react properly, to react accordingly, so that you and your family can stay healthy or become healthy and then stay healthy.
Yeah. And I think we always say...
I don't look at it as overwhelm. I really don't.
No, you
don't.
Look
at it as unfortunate, but I look at it like poking a hole in the wall. Okay, I need to fix that hole.
Yeah.
Then I need to put some material in there, some fill.
Yeah.
Then I need to sand it, and then I need to paint it, and I need to match the paint. And if it doesn't match, I'll redo the whole wall. I look at it as just an issue that needs to be resolved.
Right. And one of the things that we always say, whether it's, in the course or it's getting people started on a supplement program or whatever it is, we say, start with a little. Don't try and do everything all at once. Because we're going to talk about a lot of different things that you can do today to counter this. Yeah. And I think my advice to people would be, listen to this, listen to all the things that we suggest. There's a lot of solutions out there. Absorb it. And then just pick one or two to begin with. Yeah. Do that, get some results, see how you do, and then start adding more. It's a process.
It is. And if you just take one example, something so simple, our water systems are just devastating. Yeah. So many people still don't have a water purification system. They're still drinking tap water, or they're still drinking toxic water from rural areas that's in the water supply system. It doesn't take a train wreck dumping forever chemicals into thousands of miles of streams and rivers to realize that our water is toxic. It shouldn't have to happen 5 miles down the road to get a water filter. Get a water filter.
Yeah.
Get a water filter. Purify your water. Drink good, clean, alkaline, pure water. Add Celtic salt to it, and you're incredibly better.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people...
That's just one example.
A lot of people think, though, water filtration systems are too expensive. Like, I can't...
You can get them today for $40. I traveled with one day, guys. Yeah. It's got a bamboo top. It's $60.
Right. Just like anything, you can find one that's...
Get a shower head that filters out the chemicals, that you take the shower, you take the filter out of the head and throw it away and put a new one in every 30 days, and you see the filter is black.
Yeah.
It's black.
Now so while we're on the shower head topic, I will go ahead and say, sometimes Lindsey comes to me with things and he'll tell me, and I'll be like, okay. I'm a little skeptical. I mean, right? I'm not.
Because I'm a little extreme.
You're a little extreme. I'm a little skeptical. And so we meet somewhere in the middle, but I don't always just some people may think that if you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. But I kind of am your hardest audience sometimes, right?
You're doubting Thomas. But you always come around.
I do. But when you came to me and you were like, yeah, we need to get a shower filtration. I'm like, why? It's our shower.
And I walked into the room and I showed her the shower filtration, and it had this filter in it.
I'm not using
and I took it apart and I put the filter in, and she goes, I'm not using that. My shower head's fine.
I like my matte black shower head that matches my shower, and it puts out good water. I like it. Right. I don't need a new shower head. Yeah. And so you're like, okay, whatever. And so you put it on your shower. Right. And you even put it on mine, but I don't use it.
So in our shower, there's two of them. Mm-hmm. One is completely pure, clean, cotton, crystalline white. Yeah. And mine is black.
Yeah, because the shower filter, you can see there's a little tube in there, and you put this little cotton thing in there, and it's clear. And so I'm like, doubting Thomas. I'm like, whatever, go ahead and do your shower filter.
4 weeks later.
I look at his, and his is, because he's been using it every day, and it's black like this microphone, and mine's still totally pristine white. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe there is some bad stuff in our water.
So then I took my filter and replaced it, put a new one in, and 3 weeks later, black again.
Again.
So now she
So now I'm kind of using the water filtration system. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I think you have to do your homework. You've got to put the time and energy into understanding this stuff. Pick your battle.
Pick a one at a time.
Yep. And then just knock it off. So let's talk about some solutions now.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk to you about the brain for a minute, because most everybody knows that I really love to talk about mental wellness. I'm very passionate about it. I think it's really important to give attention to our mental wellness. A lot of times we can get fixated on our physical ailments.
Yep.
But if we're not taking care of our mind, like you said, our physical body is going to suffer. And so when I was doing a little research for this podcast yesterday, I didn't realize it, but the brain actually has its own detox mechanism, and it's called the glymphatic system. Not the lymphatic, but the glymphatic.
So a whole system.
Yeah, it's GLYMPHATIC system, if you want to look it up. Yep. But the glymphatic system, I'm just going to read from this little article I found online. It's basically a system of blood vessels within your brain that removes waste products, and it flushes it through your entire body, and it removes waste products from your brain as well as your central nervous system.
Heavy metals.
Exactly. Or proteins or whatever is not good for your brain and your CNS. It removes those things.
Yeah.
And so what happens, and this is really interesting because you just mentioned this a few minutes ago, there has been a drastic increase in Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, all these things. Okay. And even on the lesser severe level of that is just everybody's suffering from brain fog today.
Yeah.
I deal with it. Short-term memory issues. Like it's just everybody feels unclear up here.
Yep.
And it's because I believe that your glymphatic system, after reading this, is not functioning properly.
Right. Yep.
So interestingly enough, your glymphatic system works the most when you are asleep. Okay.
And so many people have sleep issues.
Yeah. And this is why it's so important to get quality sleep.
Yeah.
And so this also, like if your glymphatic system is not working properly, you can also have depression and anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, like I mentioned, all these kinds of things that, go on up in the mind.
And the more serious conditions that you mentioned earlier too.
Yes.
Which I think most people are concerned about.
Yes. So, and I think, too, like I'm going on 41, you just turned 61, like we're all really concerned about how we're going to age. Like we want to age healthy. We want to age, in a just a good way. We don't want to be losing our memory or suffering from these, neurological degenerative diseases. And so one of the things that you can do is a mental detox. Now, like when you think about detox, because you're going to get into like physical detox, we usually think of like a period of time, like I'm going to do a 7-day detox or a 3-day detox or whatever. When you do a mental detox, like maybe you give it certain emphasis for like a week or two, but this is more of something to do like consistently, like to implement into your lifestyle. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things that I want people to start being more aware of as it relates to their mental health and their brain aging well. So we talked about sleep. You have to get enough sleep because that is when your glymphatic system is working. Okay. So if you are someone who struggles with sleep, what are some things that they can do? Well,
the obvious would be melatonin, but skullcap, hops, valerian root.
Magnesium.
Magnesium, your minerals, anything that's going to calm the body down. A lot of times people internally, they're on fire.
Yeah.
And what that means is you watch their legs will shift. You see people who are real nervous and eyes will dart and their body, they can't sit.
They're sitting, they're tapping their leg all the time. Yeah.
And in the nutrition world, if you were going to describe those people, you'd say, well, basically they're on fire inside, meaning they're irritated internally. They have a lot of acid inside their body chemistry, and their body is having to convert alkalinity from the bones into the bloodstream to keep the bloodstream 7.4 on the pH scale, because that can't vary, or we die. And so the body is always in this internal fight.
It's like, like that whole
it's like
nervous.
it's like a wire. It's like an electric wire.
Right.
And so anything that's going to calm that down
Yeah.
and that's going to relieve that fire, or that put that fire out and relieve that acid, that's going to be extremely beneficial.
Yeah.
So all your base minerals, your calciums, but you got to be careful with calcium because they can end up in the bloodstream, vascular system, and in the kidneys. So you got to get calcium the right way. It's really an art and a science. A magnesium, potassium, all your herbs, your great herbs, your skullcap hops, valerian, your melatonin can
Ashwagandha.
be good. Ashwagandha's amazing. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then your protein, your amino acids. There's
Yeah.
a lot of really
Fat.
solid information, yes, on certain amino acids that really, really do, not just tryptophan, but certain amino acids that really do calm the body down.
Right.
Fat's incredible because fat is our cushion.
Yep.
So, yeah, those
Yeah,
are
you
all.
always say to me whenever because I am anxiety prone, it's one of the things that I just have to deal with. And when I say to you, like, my anxiety's heightened or whatever, one of
Yeah.
the first things you say to me is, have you been getting enough fat
Yeah.
lately? And usually the answer is no.
Yep.
And you're like, go take your olive oil, go your MCT oil, your total
Yep,
omega, all those
coconut,
things.
your your omega fatty acids,
Yep.
your fish oil, and your B vitamins.
Yeah.
B vitamins are to the central nervous system. B vitamins and fat are to the central nervous system what calcium is to the bones.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's all really good nutritionally. As far as sleep goes, there's also habits, things that you can do to breathing. But also, here's a real basic one that a lot of people do not do. Going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning. And I'm
Yeah.
including weekends on that.
Yeah, and I'm not real good at that. Sometimes I stay up too late.
Yes.
That's one of my
Yep.
weaknesses for sure.
Your body gets on a circadian rhythm.
Yep,
And that's
you're
very
right.
important for good rest
Yep,
because
you're right.
we're really designed, like if you could just go back to the very,
Go to bed when the sun sets.
go to bed when the sun sets, wake up when the sun rises. And so if you can get into more of a structured sleep habit, that will really help.
And you're really good at that. I mean, you're like 99% of the time. You go to bed
On the
at
weekends,
the
I'm
same
like
time,
10:15, I'm out.
You wake up at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind
My
of a-
alarm goes off at 4:45, and I'm just real happy about that.
Yeah.
I just went
Hey,
to bed.
it's Saturday. We're getting
Yeah.
up at 5. No, I
Yeah.
don't get up that early on Saturday. I'm just kidding. But yeah.
I think that alarm is pretty much set at 4:45.
Right. Well, but honestly now, I mean, you start waking up without the alarm,
Right.
We know this. Number 2, anti-inflammatory diet. Okay. So
Yeah, that's really important.
this is not just for the mental detox, but this is detox across
Yeah.
the board. But let's talk about what an anti-inflammatory diet looks like.
Burn that wheat.
I'm sorry.
Burn that wheat.
Yeah.
Burn it.
Right. Yeah. So
Burn that dairy.
no gluten,
burn that
no
wheat.
dairy. Yeah.
Get that gluten, the wheat,
Yep.
the dairy, the sugar,
Yeah.
all the gasoline. Those are all gasoline.
Yeah, because what's all that do? It causes inflammation.
Gas.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
douse that fire.
Inflammation causes acidity.
Yeah.
Most people have over acidic bodies,
Yeah.
which I've learned this from you, like over acidic bodies cause that nervousness. Like
Yeah.
if you look at somebody and you see like
can
what you
tell.
just described, that, twitching and that nervous
Acid.
energy, too much acid. They need to alkalize.
You see it on the skin. They have big pores. The pores open up because the body's trying to get the acid out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the pores, instead of being baby soft and real smooth skin like
Yeah.
yours, the pores will get real big and they'll open up, and that's just total acid body.
Yeah.
Run the chemistry, test the pH of the urine and saliva.
Yeah.
It's 5.6, 5.7, 5.4, way too acid.
Right. So, okay, we just said what not to eat. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about what to eat. So,
Alkaline foods.
vegetables.
Fat.
Somebody just asked me the other day, like, okay, what's the what percentage of this and this and this are you supposed to eat? And I said, well, here's the thing. I have never been someone to measure stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people do that, and I'm not knocking it, but I just don't.
Nor
but
do I.
If I look at my plate, for whatever meal, and I'm typically a 2 meal a day person, as you pretty much are as well.
Yeah.
You know, one meal is going to be like my liquid supplements.
Yep.
And then the second and third meal will be like the food I'm going to talk about. But if I look at my plate, I would say 65% of my plate is vegetables.
Veggies. Yeah, there's no doubt about
Vegetables,
it.
whether
and I'd
they're...
say, I think you're being conservative with
Oh, you
that.
think it's
Yeah.
more than that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think in a day you eat probably 65 to 70% vegetables.
Yeah. And then the second highest percentage would be a healthy protein.
Yep.
So, you know, your organic ground turkey,
Yep.
your grass-fed beef,
Yep.
your eggs, whatever it might be.
Yep.
And then the last percentage
Yep.
would be the healthy fat.
Yeah.
So, you know, your avocado,
Yep.
your cashews,
Yep.
your almonds, coconut.
And then you probably
know.
do 2 or 3% like a wheat-free, gluten-free crackers.
Cracker. Yes, I've got a
that's 2%
couple.
of your diet.
Yeah, like because you know you sometimes you want the crunchy or whatever, but I've also found that to get that little crunch, you can do sunflower seeds.
Yep.
You can do carrots are a great
Pine
option.
nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things, but that's a great example of an anti-inflammatory meal.
Yeah.
It is mostly vegetables, a little bit of healthy protein, even a little bit of healthy fat,
Yeah.
and you know, and you're good to go.
And then look how different my diet is. Like I'll do 2 days, 3 days on just
Watermelon?
fruit. Yeah.
Watermelon.
Just watermelon.
Yeah, literally like,
Yeah.
yes, Seth, whenever we get watermelons, like Seth's like, Mom, can I have a little bit of that before Lindsay gets to it? Because the watermelon just doesn't stick around. But so we want veggies, nuts, seeds, legumes, grass-fed meats, wild-caught fish, all those kinds of things are
Ghee.
anti-inflammatory. Ghee, yes, absolutely. Number 3, exercise. Okay, so from a detox standpoint, again, not just for the mental, but
Yeah.
it gets the 7 channels of elimination
Yep.
going,
Yep.
sweating, purging, all those things.
Quickest way to detox is
Yep.
to exercise.
Right. And this article that I read says that there's evidence suggesting that exercise increases your glymphatic activity.
Yeah.
So again, your brain's way to detox.
Yeah.
It improves brain plasticity, neuroplasticity,
Yeah.
which you guys hear me talk about all the time.
Yep.
Okay. And so if we want our brain to function well, then we've got to get active. How many people in this country are completely inactive?
Right.
I mean, it's
And
crazy.
I couldn't do that.
I couldn't do
that
it.
would be like, I mean, I just literally
Well, from a
couldn't do
mental
it.
standpoint, I will tell you if I go more than 2 days
Yeah.
without doing some form
Yeah.
of activity,
Yeah.
I start to feel so down,
Yeah.
so negative
Yeah.
in my mind. I don't know how you could do it.
So the perfect analogy that I'll give, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
With exercise is exercise in the human body could be compared, in my opinion, to a river.
Mm-hmm.
If a river stops flowing, it becomes stagnant. It becomes disease. If you drink from it, you die because it has disease.
Right.
So it's not flowing. It's
Yeah.
it's stagnant. It's
Yeah.
still. That's it. Everything takes over. Everything bad takes over.
Correct.
Same thing in the body. Our body is 70, 75, 76% liquid. So it's a river, right? And if it doesn't exercise, if it sits on that couch, it's not flowing.
Yeah.
And if it's not flowing, it is, I know it's not the correct word, it's diseasing.
Yeah. Right.
Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you get up and you get the body flowing, and you're oxygenating the body. You're stimulating the cardiovascular system. You're opening up the channels of elimination. You're opening up your skin. You're perspiring. You're releasing toxins through
Yeah.
the lungs, through the skin. You're stimulating your bowels, and you're taking the pressure off your kidneys because you're sweating.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. That's
Yeah.
medicine right there. That is medicine at its finest.
I think that's a good analogy because like the visual that comes to my mind is like this very stagnant, still, almost like swamp water. And when the water's just like completely still, you get all these like flies and all these things coming in that are just gross
Yeah.
and makes the water bad, and the
It's thick.
algae like scum on the top.
And it's thick.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's thick because
Yeah.
everything is growing on it.
right.
Right?
Right.
You
I
can't.
mean, you wouldn't want to stick your toe in that water.
No.
Yeah.
And then and then all of a sudden a flood exercise, comes in and rushes and purifies everything.
all out.
And there's this beautiful crystalline pure water that's flowing over the rocks, and you could drink it all day long.
Yeah.
Because why?
Yeah.
It's moving.
I think it's a really good analogy. Yeah. And I hope people remember that and exercise.
Move.
Yes.
Move.
Next one you're going to like, intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
They say intermittent fasting is an amazing way to detox your body on a regular basis. I was just talking to my mom earlier this morning, and she was saying that she's been incorporating intermittent fasting back into her kind of lifestyle. And she's like, I cannot believe, she said that her typical kind of window, now she's doing a pretty long fast, but she's going like 18 hours, every single day.
Yeah.
And she's like, I cannot believe how much better I am feeling.
Yeah.
And she's like, I really believe we are not designed to eat so much food.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have more energy. I feel more clear in my head.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm really going to try and stick to this.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, well, that's really cool. Cause I said, we're actually doing a podcast today about this very thing.
Right.
But as it relates,
That's what I told her to do a week ago.
She listened. She listens to everything you say. But I told her, I was like, well, that's interesting because I was just researching the brain for this podcast. And again, the intermittent fasting is supporting the glymphatic system, and it's helping it to move better and function better.
So I will say 100%, I agree.
I don't think that you believe in fasting.
So I did. If you go to my one of my social media accounts, you'll be able to find a 23-day fast.
TikTok.
On TikTok and on Facebook, and I documented it quite well.
Yeah.
The 23 days and then the week or so of eating just fruit afterwards, and it's life changing.
Yeah.
And I've been fasting. I've probably gotten, I don't know, 100,000 people to fast in my career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe more. Maybe 500,000 people that I've actually stimulated, encouraged to fast.
Yeah.
That changes people's lives.
It does.
Fasting changes people's lives. If you get people to understand the science behind autophagy or autophagy, your life will change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and the average person is not going to go 23 days on just water. I mean, I don't think that I probably will ever do that in my lifetime.
No, don't need to.
But you can do like what my mom is doing, incorporating, the intermittent fasting. And I will say from a mindset, from a mental wellness standpoint, and even a spiritual standpoint, there's a reason that fasting is in the Bible. Because when you fast,
it's in the Bible.
A lot. It clears out all the garbage that prevents you from having that deep, profound spiritual connection.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason Jesus went to the desert for 40 days, right?
Yep.
So we know that fasting is historical, biblical, all these things, and there's a reason that we need to bring it in.
I've often said that food is truly the great addiction.
Oh, 100%.
People think that drugs or alcohol or sex or porn or all of these other things are the great addiction. Caffeine. Yeah. They're not.
Yeah.
Food is the last addiction.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we need it to sustain life. And you have to deal with it 2 or 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And so it's not something that you can put on the shelf. You can't not eat. You know what? I've been free of food now for 13 years. No, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You have to eat. And so you have to deal with it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so it's a struggle. And it is the last, and it is the great addiction.
Also, too, because the society that we live in, everything social, everything celebratory.
Let's go eat.
Let's
dinner.
go grab something to eat. Let's go grab a drink and dinner and whatever. Everything is around food. Yeah. It's even how we show love.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to go treat you to your favorite, whatever, because I love you, or our kids.
Parents give kids sugar.
I've been guilty of it. Yeah. I'm going to make my kids cookies or whatever because I want to show them love. Yeah. And, it's the world we live in, and we have to be mindful of it.
Yep.
So give me some of the stuff that you have found as far as, detoxing and some solutions and things
I'm
that
myopic.
people can do.
I become when I want to detox, I become myopic on the 7 channels of elimination.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I just go after each channel. What can I do to sweat? Well, you remove the dead skin and you exercise. Right?
How do you remove dead skin?
You just take a brush. I take a brush for the
brush?
feet. Yeah, no, I don't take a dry brush. I get something harder that has a stronger base to it. Not even a brush. And I do that on my social media. You can see it. And then
Yeah.
I just literally, you can see all the dead skin coming off. Then I
Right.
go exercise. Then I go hop in the cold water. Then a hot water, open up the pores. Cold water, close up the pores, and I can
Yeah.
get. In one day, I could literally get this body to release massive amounts of toxins.
Yeah.
So it's too much to go into right
on
here
one podcast.
on
yeah.
one podcast. But
Yeah.
I mean, I could do a podcast on the skin. I could do an entire hour on the bowels. I get the bowels moving. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
I could do it, and we could do an entire podcast on the kidneys.
Right.
With watermelon seed tea,
Yep.
corn silk tea.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do an entire podcast on the lungs, probably 3 or 4, because especially in today's world, where you get the lungs to expectorate,
Yeah.
you can induce coughing and get stuff out of your lungs.
Okay, so tell everybody the story real quick. When you did your fast, I
Yeah.
thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what was it, day 18 or
It's
something?
about day 18 or 19.
Yeah.
I was no infection, no nothing. All of a sudden, day 18 or 19, with just water only, nothing. I had put no solid food in my body. Didn't even put toothpaste in my mouth. Nothing to stimulate any secretion, saliva.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, days 18 or 19, I started producing, I started releasing, I started purging this mucus,
Yeah.
orange and
Yeah.
yellow, and I took pictures and video.
If you would like to see it, it's on your TikTok.
And I took
account,
and I
right?
put and
Yeah.
it was green, and
Yeah.
it was and people say, oh, it was infection. It wasn't an infection.
Yeah.
I had no infection. I tested my white blood cells. I tested.
Well, 'cause they
I had
were
no
doing
fever.
blood work.
They're doing blood
They
work.
were checking
There
you
was
every single day.
No infection at all.
Yeah.
It was old, putrid, poisonous, gelatinous, dairy,
Yeah.
mucus that the body produces, and it holds on to it.
Yeah.
The bowels are not the only thing that holds on to toxins. The lungs, the lymphatic system, the lymph glands, all of that, the skin. And all I did was I was purging it out of my body.
Yeah.
60 years of poison, 60 years of antibiotics, of dairy, of mucus-forming foods, of inflammation.
Yeah.
Of junk that my body was storing and
Yeah.
holding on to. After day 17, 18, 19, it started coming out, and I was just,
Yeah.
and I've been doing this a long time.
Right.
I was floored.
Well, and you were exposed to a lot of secondhand smoke.
Secondhand
because your parents
smoke
smoked
and
when you were a kid.
antibiotics, and I had
Yeah.
horrible immune and lung issues.
Right.
Horrible.
Yeah, yeah. So the point is, our body holds on to all of that,
Yeah.
and when we give it an opportunity to detox, it comes out.
Just like that
and
river.
Restores.
Here comes
Yeah.
that flood.
Yeah.
You bring that fresh water in, and what happens? It'll purge, it'll flush all that disease, all those poisons, all that garbage
Yeah.
out of the way, and you have a clean river again. And that's all I was doing. I was cleaning my river.
Yep. So talk about not too much detail because we don't want to go into. We could do an entire podcast on this. But when you think about detoxing, a lot of people think, well, I'll go do a juice detox, a juice fast, a juice cleanse.
Be careful.
What are those good? Do you think, or are
I
they?
think a juice
you know?
cleanse can be okay. I don't like the juice cleanse because it's too concentrated. So if you go and concentrate apple juice, I mean, that's
Yeah.
just not a cleanse.
Right.
I mean, it's just too much sugar and it's too concentrated. And never in life do you go eat 32 apples, it's just,
Yeah.
and you can't do it.
Yeah.
And so it hits the pancreas. It's too much sugar. So let me answer this way. The more bitter the juice, greens. Celery, and
Right.
cucumber, and spinach, and parsley, and oregano, and thyme, the more bitter the greens, the better.
Yeah.
The more sugary and the more sweet, the juice. the more sugary, the more sweet the juice,
Yeah.
the not as good.
Right.
So,
Right.
but if you are going to do a juice fast, always dilute your juices.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to do a juice fast, always chew your liquids.
Yeah.
Chew your juice. Get the liquid in your mouth because it's so
your enzymes.
concentrated.
Yeah.
Keep it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Let it mix with your enzymes, and then slowly swallow. So people have to be careful. They go and juice 32 ounces and drink, or they go to Jamba Juice or one of these where you get 42 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
That's not fasting.
It's not.
That's not
No.
cleansing. There's
No.
nothing that's cleansing about that. That's
Right.
feeding candida. That's feeding bacteria. That's feeding
Inflammation.
amoebas. It's feeding parasites. And
Yeah.
yes, it's feeding inflammation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could go on about juice fasting
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
for quite a while. but-
Right. Right.
so just do greens.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit more about mental detoxing, mental fasting.
That's a big deal.
Because I think people are doing things every single day that are toxic to their
Mentally.
mental
Yeah.
well-being. And if we're talking about chemicals, harmful chemicals,
Yeah.
okay, the one I'm going to hit on is cortisol right now.
Yeah.
Because when we get stressed, when we get negative, when we get amped up, when we get all wired, like Lindsay was talking about a little bit ago, where we get that, going,
Or we get angry.
we get angry.
Yeah.
We're driving and we've got road rage. Every
Producing
other,
those mental toxic chemicals.
Yep.
That person, they make me sick to my stomach.
rehashing, yes.
Wow.
Or how about the people we
That
get on
person's a pain in the neck.
we get on social media and we start having this social media debate. Like,
Yeah.
what good is that doing? Okay. All that is doing is it is creating a spike in your cortisol.
Yeah.
Cortisol, when you have too much of it, now a little bit of it is okay and it's actually healthy and it's, it's good for us to have a certain amount of cortisol. But I believe our society
16
is walking
hours a day.
around
Yeah.
like super spiked on cortisol.
16 hours a day.
Yeah, that's why so many people have adrenal fatigue these days.
Yeah.
Because your adrenals just get zapped from all that cortisol.
I would say that there's probably not a person in this country that doesn't have perfectly well-functioning,
Yeah.
balanced, healthy, top shelf adrenal glands.
that does
It just
that,
doesn't exist.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Unless
So-
you're a monk living somewhere where you're not in society
Yeah.
and you're not exposed to the stresses and the tensions and the toxins and the poisons and the fear and the angst. Your adrenal glands are going to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
be affected.
Yeah. So this is what I recommend for mental detoxing. Now, I try and do a couple of these honestly every week if I can, but I think that these are so important and it makes such a difference, not only for your brain fog and your memory and your cognitive ability, but also just like your overall joy and
Yeah.
peace
Yeah.
and like ability to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Okay. So social media, I'm going to start there. Okay. Social media is good. We all use it. I mean, we're going to post this podcast on social media, so it has its benefits. But
Fast afterwards.
yeah, do a dopamine fast
Dopamine
after
fast
that.
after this
Yeah.
podcast.
When we are mindlessly and endlessly scrolling, and especially at night, okay? And I get on you for this,
I know.
because you fall into this category. Right. I'm like, turn that blue light off. But when we get into the habit of being on social media, being on our phones too much, okay, it creates mental toxicity. And I'm going to hit mainly on comparative mindset
Yeah.
and judgment. What do we do the entire time we're on social media? We're either judging critically usually or we're comparing, okay? And those two things are not good for your mental well-being. And so we have to be able to detox from that. Take a break, limit yourself. You can even get into your settings and, put a limit on your phone time. It'll remind you like, hey, you've reached your limit for the day.
Yeah.
I honestly just looked at how much time I spent on my phone the other day and I was shocked. I was like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah.
You and actually were at like having a debate who spends more time.
And
I
who
was
did?
like, it was me. I was like, there is no way. And you're like, no, I know that you spend more. And I was like, oh, okay, shoot. So I'm talking to you about things that I have to work on myself, but we have to be able to turn off that social media and that phone. raising our awareness to our narrative, our self-talk. Okay. So many of us are going around and the narrative that we are living by is extremely negative. And again, this leads to an increase in cortisol and it's not good for your overall body. So this is going to sound really basic, but just raising your awareness to catching negative thoughts and implementing more gratitude, positive based thoughts. I'm going to hit on 2 more real quick.
Okay.
Solitude. I think it's highly important. I think I just was coaching somebody on this the other day, one of my coaching clients, and she's a real go, activity. And her stress level is always super high. And I'm like, I know that you like to go do things. We all do. We all want to have, there's like this epidemic of FOMO out there, fear of missing out, right?
Yeah.
And I know that we all want to experience things, but it's important to have balance. It's important to have harmony there, and you need solitude. And I think as it relates to our mental wellness, we need time to decompress, to be by ourselves, to do the meditation and the deep breathing, and just sitting in silence sometimes is so therapeutic. And so I really encourage people to incorporate that in for their mental detox. And then the last thing I would say would be, the self-care. This is one of the biggest things that I preach on, is you cannot take care of others until you take care of yourself. And I know that's very overused, but if I didn't get up in the morning and take care of myself, would you really want to be around me? Probably not as much. Like, it is so important to get up, start your day off with some self-care for your mental well-being and your physical well-being.
And isn't it interesting, because you bring up a really good point, how different your self-care is to my self-care.
Oh yeah, it looks very different.
Because if you think about it, look, mine is fasting. Mine's going in and out of autophagy or autophagy. Mine is exercising while I'm in autophagy. Mine is purification.
I don't know if people know what autophagy is.
They can look it up.
They can look it up. Okay.
And so if you think about it, mine's going into the sauna and sweating for 25 minutes. And then laying down and meditating.
Right.
So it's,
and what's my self-care look like?
You're up at 4:45 in the morning, and you're journaling, and you're praying, and you're reading the Bible, and you're highlighting things in it, and then you're journaling over, and you're tying it into your daily life and how you can apply it in your day.
And then going to the gym.
And exercise. So it's very different.
Yeah, it is.
But both are very healthy.
Yeah.
And they both fit what we need. So it doesn't, there's not a one size that
No, there's not a
fits
cookie cutter.
all.
You have to find what works for you and then just get really consistent.
So we've covered a lot today, a lot. And we
could keep going, but we're not going to.
We don't need to, because we can do a part 2 where we talk more about bowel health, or we talk more about the liver. We talk more about the bloodstream and how to purify that. We talk more about sleep, or we talk more about toxicity in a relationship and how to get that out. There's so many different levels that affect us. But I think for me, the main thing that I want people to walk away from this podcast with is that visual of what we're walking out of. We're walking out of the Industrial Revolution, and we're walking into the technological revolution. We're in the middle of it. And walking out of the Industrial Revolution, we're leaving behind massive amounts of toxins. Billions and billions of pounds of millions of toxins that have affected every single breath that we've taken in, every bit of water that we've bathed in and we've drunk, and every bit of food that we've put in our body. And we have to understand that we have to undo that. That has to be addressed. It's not just going to go away on its own. However, walking into the technological revolution,
we didn't even talk about EMFs today.
That is very very serious. And I've warned about this. And I've warned about the cell phone. I've warned about the EMFs. I've warned about the 5G. I've warned about how these things affect our nervous system. If you look at the amount of heavy metals and the Parkinson's and the dementia and
brain tumors,
it's affecting 2 things. It's affecting 3 things, in my opinion, in a devastating way. It's affecting our central nervous system.
Yep.
It's affecting our brain. This organ right here.
Yeah.
It's affecting it to a degree that nobody understands.
Right.
And it's affecting our mood, our spirit. Those three things are being pummeled right now.
Agreed.
As we walk out of the Industrial Revolution, and we are in the middle of the technological revolution.
Right.
They say we suffer the sins of our forefathers. Well, boy, we better get that.
Yeah.
We better understand what that statement means, because we are in the middle of that right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the last statistic I read on anxiety just in the US was, I think, like 40 million people. Now, that's a crazy number. And, I've heard you.
Epidemic.
It is. And I've heard you say this a million times, like your health ailment, whatever it is, your anxiety is not a deficiency in Prozac. Or
your headache is not a deficiency of Tylenol or of Excedrin.
There's always a cause. Okay. So what is the cause? We have to open our eyes. We have to look around us. Don't get overwhelmed, but be strategic and do something about it.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're trying to help by providing the information, the statistics, and the discussion about the solutions.
Yeah.
We'll do a part 2.
I think like a whole, honestly, because this topic is so broad, you could even do like a detox series. Like this is part 1. I mean, we could easily go on for several more podcasts and really cover the different areas.
I would love to get into how to truly detox the vascular system, the whole entire heart, cardiovascular system, and the bloodstream. Right. That is critical. You got kids dropping dead on the football field today that are 14, 15, 17, 18, and pros 21, 22 years old. These are healthy people.
Yeah.
And they're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
We have to address our cardiovascular system, and we're going to have to do it quickly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed our first official podcast.
Yeah,
right?
the first one.
We're going to try to inform you guys as much as we can, just throw out a lot of information and education. We believe that if you are informed, then that gives you power. You can do something about it. And that's really what the purpose of this is for.
And do all the subscribe and like and share.
Yes.
Subscribe and like. What do you think?
If you like what we're doing, then make sure you like it.
Subscribe and share and like.
Yeah, and turn on your notifications and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah. Change your habits and change your life.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.